That's what the genetics say. The tests are not always accurate.
I can't believe that Tim would do that.
Gorilla, which he was Dane mixed with Labrador. Okay? JoJo mama name was Sugar. She was a big ass black dog.
Okay, so the first Panther was Mighty Joe, and his daddy was a dog named Gorilla. That was half Dane, half Lab, and his mom was a giant black dobe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gypsy's book does not seem to have any specifics on why each breed was used, and his deferment to the book when asked implies he doesn't want to answer the question, or we missed a hidden chapter in the book. Tim doesn't know the purpose for each breed used, and says Scorpio was very secretive, and this may also explain Gypsy's hesitance in answering directly. The only thing we know for sure is the Great Dane Lab mix called Gorilla was used for his size, and American Pit Bull Terrier was later added to shrink the breed. This being said, we can still make an educated guess on the various choices for the breeds used. Great Dane is an obvious choice for size. While some dog breeds are larger or same size as the Great Dane, none are so common in the West as the Dane. Plenty of other breeds could have been chosen years later to shrink the breed, especially since some of these would not carry the risk of creating absurdly small Canis Panthers like some people now produce. But the American Pit Bull Terrier does bring a strong degree of pain tolerance as well as game drive. While dangerous to cross game and protection drives, Scorpio was able to prevent the game drive from passing into the breed proper. It is not dog aggressive like the bull and terrier ancestors tend to be. The least obvious choice to some, and second most obvious choice to others, is the Labrador Retriever. This breed may have found its footing in the Panther by accident, simply by being associated with Gorilla's genome. However, more Labrador was bred in later. Many people have criticized this choice since they don't associate Labradors with protection work. But the truth is much deeper than directly serving the task at hand. The Labrador is an incredibly intelligent breed, but the intelligence manifests differently than a Doberman's. So theoretically, this creates a secret weapon for the Canis Panther, a secondary and more dynamic intelligence supporting the Doberman identity. Doberman is arguably the most obvious choice of all. The Canis Panther's entire job and existence is essentially identical to that of the Doberman, plus the Doberman's own intelligence.
If somebody took the same breeds and blended them together and did the best they could, I'm not saying they did it the same way, but they did the best they could to copy what you did, but with completely different dogs, and they ended up with a dog that looked like a panther, it acted like a panther, you couldn't tell the difference just between looking at them, would you consider those Canis Panthers?
I would ask them, where'd you get your dog, man? That's a damn good looking dog. Where'd you get that dog?
And then when they told you, that they built it,
itself, I would say, well, it looks like you did a pretty good job. But that's without me living with the dog.
Right.
And then the next generation, will they still have the traits of that dog?
Mm-hmm.
There's more to this. See, we weren't just niggas in the alley, breeding dogs that walk down the street.
Right.
We were professionals, conscientious, with a purpose, and we didn't just do things willy-nilly. Scorpio was a brilliant man, and so was Lucas. And I'll leave it to other people to determine my level of intelligence. Got from him, tested to be a Great Dane.
No.
He didn't say Great Dane mix.
No.
He said Great Dane, correct?
No, sir. The dog I got is Great Dane mix. Her father is Great Dane. The mother is something totally different.
Well, come on, then. So where's the legitimacy on that end? Didn't that give you pause?
Yes, and...
Okay, then.
So, when people ask me what a Canis Panther is, I usually tell them to think about a Doberman that's a lot smarter and stronger. Would you say that's accurate?
It depends on the dog, man. Sometimes dogs are unintelligent because they're put in the position of having to think like human beings. And so by that standard, it's an unintelligent animal.
Right.
I don't, here's my breakdown on breed. I don't have mastiffs because they sleep too hard. If you don't knock something over, you can tiptoe past them.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I didn't have another dog, I would probably gravitate to a mastiff. But if I have a choice, I'm not going to pick a mastiff because they sleep too hard. You have to be a ninja to get past a panther, and not just a regular ninja. You got to be a stealth ninja to get past a panther. They're hyper vigilant.
So let me tell you something I know with Tim's dogs, and then get your opinion on that. So like I said, I got a puppy from him. I did the genetics on her. Her daddy's Dane, but her mom's not. So she's 75% Dane. But what else came out was Cane Corso, Neapolitan Mastiff.
Oh, God, come on, man. Are you sure of that?
That's what the genetics say. The tests are not always accurate.
I can't believe that Tim would do that.
Yeah.
And another thing is, Tim did not breed Canis Panthers until after Scorpio was dead. You got the greatest dog you ever had from me.
Right.
JD saw mountains of gold that he saw here. And there was no mention of me. None. See, I'm a patient man. I just wait for things to play out because I know who I am. I know what I've done.
Right.
And I also know what these people have not done. Tim Jones ain't never trained a dog.
Why do you say that?
Where's the proof of it?
I mean, we got dogs from you and Tim without either of you having done health testing. We ended up donating.
I've done my health testing.
Right.
That's right. Tim Jones dogs can't even run across the field.
What would you say if you saw proof that they could?
Listen, show me the dog doing it, and then show me that it's a Canis Panther. That's what I would say, because you just told me once that you did test the dog genetically, you found out it was not a Canis Panther at all.
Right.
So if I see a Great Dane able to run across the field, that's a Great Dane. He can run across the field. That's not a Canis Panther running across the field.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Jones has nothing of that. Words in this dog world don't mean anything. Work is what means something in the dog world. Mm-hmm. It also means something in the horse world. It also means, it means something. Work means something, not words. Anybody can come up with words. So whoever works is who I respect.
Okay.
Whoever can prove is what I respect. Words don't mean anything because, again, everything that we think, say, and do will either create value or destroy value. And when I hear words and all I hear is destroying a value, then that's where I leave. Prove it. Show me. Train something. Breed something.
Do you believe?
Then I'll believe it.
Right.
But the people that we've mentioned, Tim, JD, Chris Tucker, have done nothing.
But Gypsy knew that Scorpio was about to change it. He knew that. But by them falling out, he just never was around for the change. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because he took head and ran from him.
Mm-hmm.
Ran, with dogs or whatever.
Why him and Lucas' name on there, I don't know. But my brother was the one that originally made the dog.
He didn't know they were going to take his stuff. All the dogs that they started with is his dogs. We have dogs from Rock of Ages, that's been bred.
Right.
And things like that. So with that being said, how the hell do he know? Why do they think that he knows what Scorpio did? Lucas don't even know what he did. He just placed them with dogs, so why would they even want to? And you know what? I wish he was living to this day, because he'd have set the record straight. For him to say all that was supposed to be in the dogs, he needs to say all that he knows.
Kim Jones, where's his Canis Panthers? Never happened.
You say
Chris Tucker did not come back from Chicago with any Canis Panthers. None. Has anybody seen them? Has anybody trained them? Has anybody seen that they can run across the field without hopping? Did anybody go say, Kim Jones, we gotta test your dog, we gotta health test your dog? No.
I did. To be fair, I did.
And what did you find? They weren't even Canis Panthers, didn't you?
Funny you should say that. So let me give you all the information that I have. We did not find any health issues, though to be fair, out of your dogs, there were not that many health issues. So
that's right.
For him, we didn't find any health issues, but
when you did the genetic test, you found out they weren't even Canis Panthers.
It's a weird one. So his current male, his name is Diablo. He looks like a Canis Panther, but he tested as a pure Great Dane.
He looked like a Canis Panther, but
yes, sir.
Okay, brother. I didn't need you to tell me that, but I posed the question so you could say it out loud.
And I promise you, it ain't gonna be no bullshit. You're gonna get a good ass dog. It ain't gonna be no 65-pound dog like a lot of people be telling me, you know, because my cousin, I bought a dog from Rock of Ages, and I knew Rottweiler was in it. You know what I'm saying? His name was Don Vader. Okay? And
so you got a dog from Rock of Ages that had Rottweiler in it?
My cousin bought a dog, Adam. I wish I could put you on three-way. He'll tell you. He bought a dog named Don Vader from Gypsy. You know?
Okay.
And we got the dog because we had brothers and sisters, so we needed another line. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we had to go, you know, through Gypsy to get the other line. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And he sold us Don Vader. And Don Vader threw some good damn puppies. You know, don't get me wrong now. But you can tell he was little. He wasn't like his kids. His kids, Big Mercy them. You know, because we made them with a big bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And goddamn, you know what I'm saying? Them puppies came out fucking incredible.
What is your opinion on the differences there? Where Saxon has Presa Canario and she's got Neapolitan Mastiff, and then Gypsy's dogs don't have either.
Well, we don't have an opinion because we never went and bought our dogs from nowhere. Our dogs continue from where they started. You know, so they trying to say that we took, I guess, paint corsos or whatever and made them. We didn't do that. We don't own paint corsos. The only person that we had is the one that came to guard the yard, and that's because they got that from somebody that was going to jail. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And he couldn't keep them. That's why the dog was outside. So with that being said, we're not interested in cussers and stuff like that. We paint corsos.
Right.
So that's the only that we
but
our dog,
that does show up. It is showing up in your dogs though, and so people are curious. Why is that?
I guess Scorpio put it there.
Okay.
Because we didn't put it there. We never bought a dog outside of, you know, Scorpio. And the only reason we got other dogs is, you know, from Gypsy is because somebody went and purchased the dog from him. You know what I'm saying? And was dissatisfied with the dog, so that's how we ended up getting that dog. And but of course he's not gonna tell.
They tell at the end of the day, I have Canis Panthers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever my brother done, I don't know, okay? But I know I never went outside the circle, okay?
Okay.
So therefore, you know what I'm saying? What I got has come from my brother's original bloodline, okay?
Okay.
Like I said, my brother done a lot of secretive things. You know, a lot of things he would do, he would let me know. So, you know what I mean? Not Gypsy, nobody. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that being said, you know what I mean?
So where it says there's Presa Canario and Neapolitan Mastiff, the only way that could have got in there is from Scorpio.
That's the only way from
That's the only way it could have got in there. You know
Okay.
what I'm
Okay.
Because I don't have no corsos or no masters.
Right.
You know, so however it got in there, Evidently, whatever my brother done, he done, and he didn't tell Gypsy nobody what he done. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I know he kept telling me, okay, because he said he was shorting his breed, and that's Tupac. If you look at Tupac looked like some kind of goddammit big giant pit bull or whatever's in him. If you look at him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, Pressas do look like that, so that would make sense.
Okay then. So with that being said, whatever he done, didn't let nobody know. And then when I turned around, I had blood, which was Tupac's son. And I ended up making blood with a small Great Dane. And what I did that I made the breed back big, and he got pissed off at me because he said that I made the breed back bigger. He was trying to shorten the breed, okay?
Right.
And from that day on, these same dogs been right here in this circle.
You must understand that after Gypsy did what he did, Pop did do something different. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Thing that he didn't want or whatever, he didn't want the big ones no more. That's why Gypsy ended up with the big ones, and Gypsy tell you the real truth. You see what I'm saying? So whatever was put in there, Scorpio put it in there. We didn't put shit in there.
Because you're both saying the same thing. You're both saying that you didn't go outside the circle, so to speak.
We did. He sent them dogs down there. He didn't want that anymore. So he did something different. I can tell you that. He did something different.
Right.
So, with that being said, that was his difference.
Okay, so he gave Gypsy some dogs, and then he started doing something different, but he didn't tell anybody what it was.
He didn't want the big ones anymore. Gypsy knew that.
Okay.
He said he was short.
You know.
He said he was making the dogs smaller because people were saying there was too much dog to be in their house.
Mm-hmm.
He gave Gypsy all the big tall ones, and that's when he came with all the short ones. It was Tupac, Brother Love, Gator, all them was short muscle, you know what I'm saying? All these dogs looked like giant pits.
Right.
You wouldn't see no Dame or nothing in there like Diablo, okay?
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense, Taylor. That makes sense, because he did.
Yeah.
And like I said, he gave Gypsy those dogs. I don't know what Gypsy done when he sent them dogs over there with him, but I know my brother say he was shorting the breed because Tupac now looked like, goddammit, they looked like giant pits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The dogs that Gypsy had was much taller. You could see more Dame, okay? And there was anything. And he didn't want that no more. He said that he was shorting his breed. He went crazy on me because I made it back bigger.
Mm-hmm.
When he died, some of his friends came over, was looking at my sister dog, and was like, this our original Panther right here, which was grandma. She was in my sister's yard. He was like, goody. Now, him and Cleek came up together. He said, man, that's the original Panther right there. That's the first Panther that Scorpio made. So right there, that's telling the truth. That's the original Panther right there. But Cleek changed some. So both of them are the original Panthers, but he made them have two different looks.
Right.
When Paul found him in Gory, he didn't want what they did.
No, he was making something totally different.
Exactly.
You know?
So,
he said more muscle, more confirmation, more faster, not clumsy. You know, that's the whole nine. So like I said, my brother was very secretive, but you said something that made a whole lot of sense. He made both of the patterns.
Yep.
Everything come from him. What Gypsy got come from him. Whatever Gypsy done, he done. What I got come from him. I didn't do nothing though. So there you go, right there. It's there, right there, Taylor.
Okay.
That's your whole. That's the whole. That answer everything right there. My brother made both of them. Okay.
Yep.
Because I don't have no Corso. I don't have no Corso. So I don't like no Corsos and no Masters anyway because they're too big and slow to me.
Yeah.
They sloppy. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They drool too much. They're not fast like I want them to be. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I never put nothing there.
To be honest with you, I don't even like press.
You know.
Yeah.
My wife don't mind because the press I got, my wife didn't want me to have that.
No.
Like I said, you know, just to set the record straight, my brother was very secretive. Whatever he gave Gypsy, he gave Gypsy. He said he was shorting the breed. I'll never forget that. He shorted the breed. So whatever he put in there, I never changed anything. And that's that right there. That's the final goddamn answer. I never put nothing in these dogs. I got the original from him.
Okay.
You know, and like you said, maybe he made two different Panthers. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because he said he was going to make them short. Because Blood wasn't near as tall as Diablo, was he, baby? Blood, that, you know what I'm saying, which was Tupac's son, Blood wasn't number 90. No, he was 100 pounds even. He was 100 pounds even. Diablo is 145, 50 pounds. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But and it came from blood. It came from blood. And then when I made it blood with a small Dane, okay, his kids came out at 6 months. They was bigger than him.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So that right there show you what, you know what I'm saying, these dogs can throw.
I can't say anybody is, or if so, who is lying, but where the stories don't match up, clearly something is amiss. Now, I only mention this because when I initially asked Tim about the admixture of Presa Canario and Cane Corso in his dogs, he told me that he had gotten Missy and Bambi, 2 of his 3 current Canis Panther bitches, from somebody who owed him puppies. And when I first talked to him, he told me that he was getting back into breeding. And we also know that Diablo and Missy and Bambi, when he had this first group of breedings, they were only about 1.5 years old. And Tim said that Missy and Bambi came from somebody who owed him puppies from a previous arrangement. But now that Tim's been working with JD, suddenly the story is that Scorpio had created 2 different breeds. And while Tim Jones and JD are pushing this narrative, JD is also pushing the narrative that Rock of Ages went in a significantly different direction by upping the Great Dane content and really played down like the Doberman elements, and they mostly focused on the Labrador and the Great Dane. But Tim Jones's stud tests as a pure Great Dane. And the bitches that he used, Bambi and Missy, we know for sure that those 2 are at least half Great Dane. And the amount of Doberman content and American Pit Bull Terrier content is very, very small in these dogs. And the amount of Labrador is pretty much non-existent. But we know that the first dogs were definitely 1/4 Labrador and no American Pit Bull Terrier. We also know that there was no Cane Corso and there was no Presa Canaria. So as I mentioned earlier, I just think it's a little strange that the stories don't match up and that Tim Jones has more Great Dane than Rock of Ages, yet Rock of Ages is the ones who are introducing more Great Dane. Now, whatever Tim Jones has done here, if he has done anything different from what his brother did, it's possible that this is simply a cover-up because Tim Jones got his dogs from somebody who was not breeding Canis Panthers, but was simply breeding band dogs. And those dogs have Canis Panther ancestry, and that was good enough for Tim to incorporate into his new program. And I'm not critical of that decision. However, this is meant to be an exhaustive documentary about the truth and the history of the Canis Panther. And that means I have to cover everything I find. The good and the bad of Rock of Ages, the good and the bad of Scorpio, the good and the bad of Tim. So Tim, if you're watching this, please don't take this as a direct criticism of you. It is not. Now, I think the best way to summarize this is, if you recall earlier, Gypsy said that Scorpio didn't just kill dogs that were bad, because they were still good enough dogs and people wanted them. But they weren't what Scorpio and Gypsy and Mr. Lopez were looking for. So they were soft-cold from that program. That does not mean that they were soft-cold completely. And for those of you who don't know, hard culling is killing and soft culling is sterilization. But you can also soft cull in a more conceptual sense, meaning that I get rid of this dog, but it's not neutered, so it's soft culled from my program, but not necessarily soft culled from somebody else's program. And a consequence of this would be that multiple families in the Inglewood, Chicago area ended up with dogs that were runoff from the Canis Panther program. And these dogs ended up getting included into various small band dog programs around the area. And so if you go to the area, you'll probably find a lot of dogs, with or without pedigrees, who have a lot of Great Dane and Doberman and Labrador ancestry, who can probably trace at least part of those ancestries back to some of the original Canis Panthers. Now, because these dogs have significant Canis Panther ancestry, but not necessarily are true Canis Panthers, but they're probably also still being bred for the same purpose as the Canis Panther, meaning personal protection and property protection, I think we can categorize these dogs into a family that is adjacent to the Canis Panther. We can call them pseudo-panthers, a way of acknowledging and including these peripheral dogs, while acknowledging their role in the history of the proper Canis Panther. And when we look at the problems that I had in the CPCA and a lot of the discussions early on about what's a true panther, what's not a true panther, and if you recreate the formula of the Canis Panther, is that a Canis Panther because the breed is so young, or is it not a Canis Panther because the gene pool has been consolidated already? I'm making a new club called the Fellowship of the Canis Panther, And we named it that because it's a fellowship of people working together towards this goal of a personal protection dog that is the Canis Panther, but we wanted to make room for other programs. And one way of doing that is to acknowledge, because if you look at the pseudo-panther population, some of those dogs are maybe descended from runoff from the Canis Panthers who were not suitable then, but because of different breeding events since then, have become more similar to a proper Canis Panther than what the Panther ancestors were. So then you have to have the discussion. We have the pseudo-panther who looks and acts like a Canis Panther, but by lineage they're not included. But the dog does the job and it's healthy, why would we not include it? So some people are going to be purists, but at the fellowship we have decided that it's better to have a more open door policy. If somebody wants to recreate the formula, then we'll allow that. But that is going to be categorized a little bit differently. That way somebody who's new to the community will see that and say, okay, this is a dog that does what it's supposed to, but it's not from the original lines. And if they want something from the original lines, we'll acknowledge those separately. And by having that concept, even if Tim Jones dogs are not directly descended or not completely descended from the original Scorpio dogs, we can still make the exception. And if Rock of Ages dogs are not descended or not completely descended from the original dogs, then we can make an exception for those dogs. That way, everybody who has any claim to the original Scorpio effort can say, okay, we have Canis Panthers, and this group makes that inclusion. Now, because there's this raging debate between the legitimacy of Gypsy and the legitimacy of Tim Jones claiming the status of Scorpio's brother, Gypsy claiming the status of Scorpio's best friend, and who's been in the Canis Panther game longer than Tim, I propose sort of a dual state system where there are two distinct recognized lineages of the Canis Panther. So the Alpha Panthers will be Rock of Ages dogs, the Beta Panthers will be Tim Jones dogs, and the Gamma Panthers will be a mix of the two. And it's important that we preserve both the Alpha and the Beta Panther. Now, Tim Jones has said that he's recreating the Canis Panther from scratch in an additional line. And I'm not sure where we should categorize that, if that should be Beta Panthers because it's coming from his kennels, or if it should be Gamma Panthers because it's going to be closer to what Gypsy had than some of the dogs that Tim has, where Tim's dogs have Cane Corso and Presa Canario, and Gypsy's dogs do not. But the main point is that Scorpio created both of these iterations of the Canis Panther. Gypsy named them, and Scorpio gave him some dogs, and then later on a departure happened in that other line. Now, did Tim create something new and he's not telling the entire truth on that side, or did Gypsy do something new and he's not telling us the truth on that side? There's no way to know for sure. So the only acceptable path, the only logical conclusion we should reach is that to honor Scorpio, we should be accepting both versions equally. Scorpio died in 2009. Tim says that Scorpio's size was a contributing factor to his death. In this photo, we see Scorpio at a larger size working with Gypsy at Gypsy's protection dog service. And you don't just get big like that overnight. It takes a few years. And here's a photo of Scorpio when he was a little bit younger. We can see that he's relatively fit. So we know that this photo takes place at least a few years after this photo, and is probably relatively close to Scorpio's death. If that's true, that means that Scorpio and Gypsy were probably repairing their relationship, because as Tim said earlier, they had a falling out. We also know that according to Tim and to Jason Durr, who was one of Scorpio's trainees, that Gypsy definitely got his first Canis Panthers from Scorpio. We also know that after Gypsy got his first dogs, Scorpio then decided to add American Pit Bull Terrier. Yet we can see in the modern era that Gypsy's dogs still contain a consistent amount of American Pit Bull Terrier, averaging about 17.5%. Now, JD is trying to push the narrative that Gypsy and Scorpio diverged significantly from each other after this point. But since Scorpio added American Pit Bull Terrier to shrink the breed, and since all or almost all of Gypsy's dogs have American Pit Bull Terrier, then we know that they must have been working together on that. And since they were probably working on repairing their relationship a little bit later, then we also know that there's no reason to expect them to have not been exchanging dogs later on in their lives and in their partnership as well. And if this is true, then why is it that Tim says Scorpio was intentionally adding Cane Corso and Presa Canario, but Gypsy's dogs don't have that? Because Scorpio's dead, we're never going to know for sure. But it makes you wonder. And I don't think that I'm personally equipped to answer those questions or accuse anybody of lying, but something here isn't adding up. That's why I'm proposing that we have those multiple lineages count as equal value within the Canis Panther community. And as a fun fact, we also know that Gypsy increased the size of the dogs. And if they were working together later on, after their falling out, then Scorpio may have also changed his mind about having smaller Canis Panthers to begin with, and that could help explain why Gypsy and Tim both have large dogs, and why the size of the American Pit Bull Terrier in most modern lineages doesn't carry over. The only lineage is the Klaus lineage, which is half American Pit Bull Terrier, which is foreign content. JD also says that according to the Jones family, Rock of Ages went in their own direction and made this significant departure. And we also know that Gypsy's the one who named the breed. So either Tim Jones and Gypsy's dogs are the same or they're not. If they are different, then Tim Jones' dogs need a different name. And if they're the same, then why are we trying to exclude Gypsy's contribution to this breed? Because remember, the only way this breed had out of Chicago for the last 30 years has been Gypsy. And I liked him, but if it weren't for Gypsy, I wouldn't know these dogs exist, and therefore I wouldn't know Tim exists. And JD would probably be involved in some other exotic breed like the Thai Ridgeback or something.